Welcome everyone to the second episode of Startup Journey. We will be talking to entrepreneurs and know what drives them and gives them some inspiration and learn some inspiration from them. I'm really excited to have another guest with us who is going to talk about his work and the impact it is having on so many people across the world. Let's welcome Tofe Evans, best-selling author, international speaker, and a thought leader. He has written a best-selling book. Everyone has a plan until shit happens. Sorry, everyone has a plan until shit hits the fan. Earlier in life, he managed to overcome both heavy depression and anxiety. Tough, go ahead and tell us what you do and introduce yourself. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Ashish. I'm here to help people break their own limits. After breaking my own, I'm here to help serve other people with theirs. After conquering my own mind, I guess you'd call it, it seemed very attractive to other people. Can you teach me what you did for yourself? And I've been on this journey where putting my body through insane amount of endurance events, like I'm talking ultra marathons, and tying it with a purpose, tying it with tying it with a charity reason or tying it with a good message to bring some good into the world and teaching people how to build resilience for themselves. So when shit hits the fan, when things go haywire, you keep yourself together. And this is about entrepreneurship, and that's entrepreneurship to a T. We jump off cliffs and we build planes on the way down, but the plane isn't built sometimes, or the plane is built, but the engine won't start. So now we've got to turn the plane into a raft.
Oh, okay.
And for me, I'm there to help people with their mindset.
So you basically motivate people?
Not essentially. Like, yeah, I guess that's one part of it, but people how to adapt and bounce back. That's me.
Okay, that's very interesting. So we want to know, how did you start? What was the trigger point? Like, tell us about your background.
Yeah, for sure. I was never into this field. I just naturally fell into it. With my own mental struggles, it got to a point where I was losing myself. There's a lot of human disconnect, let's just say, where I was controlled by a lot of ego and a lot of testosterone, and it took the best out of me. And I changed as a person, probably in the worst way, because my negative thinking was just spiraling out of control. And my health was very degraded. I partied like an animal. I treated people like shit at one point. And it was a matter of just making a change, because it got to a point where, you know what, suicide was probably going to be the only answer at one point. So it was a matter of flicking that switch, but I had to do it internally. And it was understanding that I wanted to be a comeback. I was sick of feeling like sick. I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. What can I do about this? And that's kind of what I wanted. At the same time, my mind was taking over me, and depression, anxiety, just working together, getting pushed and pulled, push and pull. It wasn't until I managed to open up about this to specific people that alleviate the burden. And now I'm able to focus on my health. You know what I've learned is from my mentors and that. So I'm here just passing it down the line, right? But I'm doing it in such a useful setting. As a millennial myself, I feel a lot of millennials resonate with my message, and actually a lot of people resonate too, because they might see something that could benefit their kids, or they might see something. I want that as well. I want to embrace my inner youth as well. So I feel like both generations, it's a bit of a blessing to be a part of. But I really focused on my health, and I focused on tying it in with a cause. And then from there, that subsequently became like a holistic change. It's not just you're fixing the health, but you naturally fix your mental health, and you naturally fix your appreciation in life, and your relationships start to solidify. So making one change in the works has put everything, like it flipped everything full 180 in the best way possible.
And that's very commendable that you came out of this depression and anxiety. Tell us, what was the reason that you felt like, okay, I'm done with all this, I want to change, and I have to change. What one thought or what thought made you push yourself to be on the path to improve yourself?
Yeah. So a lot of my teachings come back to sport. I think sport applies to the business world. I think sport applies to just human characteristics. It relates to character traits. As someone who loves sport, I would be fascinated when teams can be down by so many points and it's like fourth quarter and everyone's walking out the stadium and
Yeah.
they come back and they end up winning. And for me, it's like, I got to be that. And you, a lot of those games, people remember those the most. And I'm not trying to say like remember, but I'm just trying to prove to not only to not it's more to prove to myself than prove myself right than prove everyone else wrong. So that kind of flipped it too. Just focus. I was too busy comparing myself to everyone else, but I'm not trying to compare myself to the sporting guys. I'm trying to use perspective and be like, what can I learn from that? What can I apply to my own life? And it was a matter of appreciating that it's going to be a long journey and just accept the process. Don't be so fixated on the outcome. Let's be fixated on what's happening right now, the moment. Because if you're living too far in the past, that is regret. If you're living too far in the future, that's fear. Now, if you're living in any of those two paradigms, you don't even remember what you did with your day. You're living in autonomy. You become an absolute train wreck. And I fell through all those. So everything I do now, it's kind of throw myself into it. If I'm running, like I did about a 16-kilometer run this morning, just focus on the run. When I'm in the shower, just focus on the shower. When I'm eating, focus on eating and remove that multitasking mentality for now. And that's helped a fair bit just by putting myself in present focus.
Right, right. Tell us what is the self-talk you would do with yourself? You know,
What is
when
self?
self-talk, what is it that you would tell
Mm-hmm.
yourself um, when
Mm-hmm.
things around you are not according to you or they're not positive, but you push yourself
Yep,
um, and come out of it. Tell us something which anybody else watching can
for
learn.
sure.
Yeah.
If you're around a negative environment, you need to remove yourself from there straight away, and you need to be around positive people. And the reason why that is effective is because humans are wired for connection. It gives me goosebumps to even say that we're wired for human connection. And if you're hanging, it's kind of like you are what you consume. So if you're eating the wrong foods, you're going to have the body you're not going to want. If you're consuming the wrong sources of media, your mind is not being fed with the right sources. If you're around the wrong people, you're going to eventually, they're going to rub off on you through osmosis, just naturally. That's why they, like Tony Robbins, when he says you are the average of the 5-10 closest people, that is so true. Because eventually their character traits rub off on you. So if you're in a negative state, you know what, you've got to, I would watch as least amount of news as possible. The news is 95% negative. I would hang around as the most positive people I can find, even just listening to inspirational podcasts, whatever. Like there's millions out there, or probably hundreds of thousands. I wouldn't say millions. And the other thing too, this is practical, a piece of advice. What I'm about to enjoy now is nothing compared to what I've been before. And everyone has gone through something. You may have been evicted out of your house. You may have had that. You may have had the promotion that you're thinking, and instead they sack you instead. You could have. There was the dream girl that everything went to plan, and she is now with another person, or the guy's with another girl. Who knows? And it's understanding if I can go through that, and don't think about the mistakes because that's gonna cause a cancer. If you can go through that, then you can go whatever's coming up. So for
Very true.
me, it's true, and it's a perspective shift, and we don't realize. Well, sometimes we're our own biggest critic. We come up and we're like, oh, I don't think I'm good enough. You know what? Everyone that's listening is worth everything. They just need that. They just need that nudge right now, and they need to know that whatever they've been through in the past, they would have gone through something. There has to be something. Adversity is inevitable. That what you're about to go through or about to endure, it's going to be fine because you've been through hell. You've been through worse.
That's very true. How do you not let outside environment affect you? Like people and society will always pull you down. So how do you deal with that? Like You are
Hmm.
internally driven, but how do you handle the surroundings?
Yeah, that's a good question. If it's for example, if it's like haters, if we're gonna, that's a type of external. So if you've got people that are giving you, just say hypothetically, you put something out on social. This happened to me yesterday. I put something out on social media, and someone didn't agree with me. The old me would have freaked out and just gone absolute rage. Nowadays, it's if you when you've gone through your own rock bottom or when you've gone through adversity, you can kind of feel other people's pain. So if someone snaps at you or doesn't agree with you, it might mean that they don't have the exact same value set as you. That's totally fine. When there's almost 8 billion people, we're not all going to think the same. It also shows that you can almost, if they're having a go at you and it's actually like coming from a bit of spite, they're probably hurting from the inside and they're projecting that out and they might not even realize. So when I see someone's opinion, I just respect their opinion because it just might not mean we have the exact same value set. And I don't need that burden. Like I don't have the time to think about why they're not happy with this. I've got it, like I'm a man on a mission, dude. So I haven't got the time to be thinking about that kind of stuff. The moment I do, it goes into a bit of a spiral, but it's a lot of acceptance. Just with whatever's going around, it's you need that acceptance. You might not live in the best household, but a lot of gratitude helps me. Just being grateful for what you have, not what you're missing. I don't have the best laptop, but at least I've got a laptop. I don't have the best car, but at least I got something right now. I might not have the iPhone X hypothetically, but you know what? It still does the job. So, in regards to the surroundings, it could be worse. That's what I'm trying to say. You might be some dude in Syria that just got blown up and just lost his legs. For all I know, that's much worse. Like I think you just focus on what you have, not what you're missing. You're not going to have it perfect, but those moments where it feels like absolute shit is going to really test your character, and it's going to show you. Like when it comes to happy moments, anyone can deal with a happy moment, man.
Yeah.
Because it's dopamine, it's oxytocin. But when it's a bad moment, this is when you have to really truly carry yourself, and that's what I've known, a common trait with all the most successful people, where they're able to be composed when shit has just hit the fan.
That's very true. Okay, Toph, tell us, how did this transition from somebody who is suffering from depression, and
Mhm.
then how does this transition happen today that you are a international speaker, and you have a client base which runs amongst athletes, entrepreneurs, and corporates, and
Mhm.
how did this confidence came? Like, tell us this, walk through us this journey briefly.
Mhm. So there's a few things that come to mind. There, it's like anything you do for the first time. I didn't intentionally think this was going to happen to me, to be honest. I just naturally fell into this. I focused so much on myself, and it was a matter of building an evolutionary stable strategy. That's when you can negotiate with the body and the mind. So it's a matter of when you take on a habit, don't go as hard as you can. Start as small as possible and work your way up. Think of like a staircase. You're not going to jump to the last step. You're going to start step by step by step. So you gradually increase and you start to, your neural pathways in the mind is going to start shifting and in the body. Then you get to a point where it doesn't feel like as work as much. And before you know it, you start to improve, constantly improve. You're going to get pushed back down a few steps if we're going to keep the analogy, and then it's about going back up. But it that was one. It was about gradually building up and up. So in regards to like speaking, I started off with, it got to a point where people were asking me to speak, and I thought, why not? And what did it for me, someone who was absolutely petrified of speaking at one point, I flipped the switch by going, instead of what are people going to think of me, I wonder if this can impact or inspire anyone. I wonder if anyone's going through the same thing, and that changes the entire paradigm, right? It's not thinking about myself anymore. Because when a lot of people go to me, how do you remember everything on stage? What do you do with your hands and that? It's like, it doesn't matter about that. You focus on impacting and inspiring your crowd. It's the same thing with the content you put out on social media. Don't focus on getting 20,000, 20 million likes or whatever. Just go, can this inspire or impact? Can this make someone's day? Can this make someone's life easier? When you hear people like Gary Vaynerchuk saying, you got to give value, what is the value proposition? Are you in entertainment? Are you going to give value are you going to make them laugh? Are you going to give them practical advice to get them through their day? Are you going to give them something to make them smile? Whatever it is that the field you're in, focus on that instead of the external kind of stuff. Like you got to do it for something that's intrinsic. I mean, intrinsic, like as if someone were to cut me open, you can't take that away from me, even if you cut me open, because it's intangible, but the energy feels tangible. So eventually I just flipped the switch by going, I wonder if this can impact or inspire. Can this help someone even through my struggles? Because there's going to be a lot of humility, and I feel a lot of people can resonate with humility because it puts you to a level where people go, fuck, he's human.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I started this channel, just to inspire and impact somebody who's fighting with depression or has lost hope. People like you can just pull them out of this state and say that, look, there are a lot of opportunities out there in life, so go and grab them. Cool. Tof, tell us about your book.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. So I happen to have a copy next to me. It just happened to be there. Sure. So that's it. Everyone has a plan until shit hits the fan. So how to not be the bitch of our own brain. And I called it that is because we are our worst critic. When we think negative, we think worst case scenario. And it's a matter of overcoming those cognitive biases. But I'm not going to speak too much psychological jargon. We all have a plan when things goes right. When things go right, no one has a plan. Most of the time, no one has a plan when things go wrong. And what do we do when things go wrong? Well, we have to know how to adapt and bounce back. So adaptability and resilience. That's what the book is about. How to adapt and bounce back, how to be that comeback, and how to go from good to great. It's like, how do I scale as a person? The book is telling you how to scale as a person. Maybe I've seen the book do amazing things. It's the exact same thing I was talking about before. I just wanted to save one person with this. And as a byproduct, a lot of people have caught on, and people messaging me going, I've just signed up for a marathon. That's crazy. I've got new mentors now. I've learned so much. I've passed this over to my dad, who I think is going to benefit from this. Like some of the craziest messages I've ever seen. And like, I do it for those messages. That's what keeps me going. And something that was just an idea that shows that, you know what, adversity is a blessing in disguise. Whoever's listening right now and is going through a shitload of stress, just realize it's going to be a blessing before you even realize. It's because people can resonate with the comeback. That's the thing. We all love a comeback story. And when things are going down, and you can just slowly lift up again, it gets our heart racing. It gets us emotionally attached because we all feel it. We all know what it's like when we get pushed down, pushed to the ground, metaphorically. And if this can help inspire and lift people up as well and give them a lot of practical advice, then that's why I wrote the book.
That's exactly what my next question was. Like, what is your message to all those who are looking for hope and are depressed in life due to any reason? Maybe he is there's a layoff in his company, or he or she is going through a crisis in life. My ultimate question is there any lack of opportunities out there in this world today, like in today's world?
No.
Yeah.
If you compare it to 100 years ago, man, 1918, it's the start of World War I, right? We live in the most opportunistic world. And I'm looking through optimism because I don't watch the news. I refuse to watch the news. There's certain things, if it's important, someone's going to tell me. The news I like is the stuff on like the scientific breakthroughs and stuff where I'm seeing the youth, the millennials or some sort is figured out how to come up with a new solution. That's the stuff I like. And what I think opportunity is, it's let me articulate this. I put out a video the other day where I created so much more opportunity for myself by start saying yes a lot more. And this is going to be like a bit of an argument to some people because people like, you got to say no more often. I believe so when you're at a point, when you have enough opportunity coming your way, then you can start declining. But a lot of people are cynical because they're listening to other people's opinions. And when they're like, you can't do it this way, you can't do it that way. Because it didn't work for them doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. So it's mad about giving it a try anyway. And if someone gives you advice and if it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical, just give it a try. because you never know. Here's a good example. Where we are right now between this conversation, this happened from the yes. When you sent me the email, sure, why not? And that yes came from something else, something else, something else, something else, something else. And that's where it comes to right now. So the opportunity to be here with you became from a sequences of yes. But it's understanding what are the things I need to say yes to. Well, things that are aligned with your values. If you don't know your values, then you got to focus on that first, because values are foundational in building company culture, your own culture as a person. People understand the values around you. So this is when you need to do a little self audit. It might take 20 minutes of your time, and it's reverse engineering. What do I want to be remembered for? Or what do I want to do before I die? And kind of going backwards from that, reverse engineering. And to the point where I go, I want to be known for kindness. I want to be known for whatever it is, that something that truly resonates with you. Maybe have a handful of values, and anything that gets thrown your way or something that you're trying to hustle towards, make sure it's aligned with those values, because any sort of misalignment, it's kind of like a bad marriage. It's like a bad collaboration, a bad partnership. The values there's a misalignment there. It's not about who's introverted and who's extroverted. Nothing about that. There's a misalignment. So it's understanding those first, and then, you know what, if the opportunity is not there, create it yourself. That's the thing. We live in 2018, man. 39 years ago, Apollo 5, whatever, was thrown up into space. And nowadays this is more technologically advanced than that spaceship. So if the fact that you reached out to me from the other side of the world, that's possible, man. So
Can you talk about how to build a personal brand on social media in today's time briefly?
Yeah, for sure. It's when you're building a brand on social media, it's the same kind of thing, man. It comes back to those values. It's like,
how did you do it for yourself?
Well, there was a few things. It kind of goes back to what I said before. I just wanted to impact and inspire people, and I wanted to be there for a purpose of some sort. And having that naturally is just going to grow organically. It's going to take a bit of time, but you got to be consistent. There's all these like little things that, like, being consistent, obviously looking at the content you're putting out and maybe focusing on different mediums. But in the grand scheme of things, if you can help benefit someone, then I feel it's like business in a way. You start a business to create a customer where there wasn't one to begin with. That's the point of business. Peter Drucker says that. And if you can figure out how to monetize and scale, that's great. But it's the same thing with social media. Can you get a new fan, new follower from something that's going to benefit them? And is it going to be something that, for me, is it going to benefit humanity somehow? So
I also think that you having written your own book has helped you a lot to come out as an influencer.
Yeah, it gives you a bit of credibility, but there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, man. I should have recorded the whole process of writing it, because there are days when I'm pulling my hair out because I don't know if I'm going to make deadline. And there's like writing the book. Here's the thing. If anyone's listening and they're like, I want to write a book, writing the book is the easiest part. It's the part afterwards where you get it out to people. But anything what I've learned is you got to go into things with good intentions, no expectations, whatever it is.
True.
The moment you have any expectations on something, that is like comparison. It's going to cause a cancer. So you need to detach yourself. You need detachment there so you can move on to not let emotion take over sometimes. I think emotion's great for passion, but emotion isn't great for outcomes. Right. And cool. That's the thing. You just want to go into, if you're building a brand, you just want to go into it with good intentions. And if you can help people with whatever you're bringing, otherwise you might be doing it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. That's very uplifting, Tof. How do people reach out to you on social media?
Sure. So you can, I'm going to say my website, just because on there it's got all my handles at the bottom. So it's Tofe, TOFE-EVANS.com. But it's on the site, it's got my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Medium, all the socials I'm on. And people can, and there's even a contact part there if anyone wants to reach out to me.
Sure. Do you also
That's probably the
do
best.
do you also do one-on-one consulting online, or is it in person?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So I can do both. So I can do, if it, in regards to coaching, I can do to teams, or if we want to do one-on-one, if I want to be with them, we're going to have to probably work out a deal so I can fly over if it's on somewhere part of the world, or I can do it like this, like over virtual.
Cool. Thank you so much for sparing time for doing this interview. We wish you all the best. And I'm sure your story has moved somebody out there, and your one line message to somebody who is dealing with a crisis in life.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for
Thank
reaching
you.
out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Thanks, Tof.